Hi, this is Decentered Media, conversations about community-focused communications for positive social change. Hello, Rob Watson here for Decentered Media, and this is a short update about what we're going to talk about on Thursday at the community media discussion. You can go to decentered.co.uk for a few more details. Sorry, the bells are just ringing. It's 5 p.m. on Monday, the 30th of August, and decentered.co.uk for more details. I've posted a blog up about this week's discussion points. I've changed the title of the sessions. I've dropped the community media makers. It's a bit too long to say on these videos, so now it's just a community media discussion, and please feel free to come along and join up. You can sign up and get I'll send you the link if you subscribe to Patreon, so it's patreon.com/decenteredmedia. But this week what I want to talk about is the difference between a design model of thinking and a craft, if you like, model of thinking. And I think there's two important distinctions that are really useful and pertinent for thinking about how we produce community media, which is one, which is, I'm used to working in an environment now where you're filling in funding applications and you're having to justify what it is that you do, and what people look for is, the number of likes, the number of hits, stuff that you can measure, the number of people that come through the door, the footfall, the downloads, all of these kind of things. And for community media, I don't think it really does the job properly for us. I think we operate in a slightly different way, and I think we actually operate in a much more craft style way of producing content, which is much less, it's less easy to measure and it's less easy to categorize, because it's much more based around social interaction, emergent experience, reflection, the things that which, it's the glue in between, if you like, the things that we can measure. But it's incredibly important and valuable that we do this. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't use a quantitative kind of approach, but I'm also saying that qualitative models of evaluation and thinking need to be looked at in the way that they not only for the user experience that comes from something, but also from the way that we design and think and anticipate how we set up projects in the first place. One of the things about a design approach is almost that what you're doing is you're trying to anticipate how things are going to work in advance. How do you fit things together? What's it going to be like? We think about think about your audience, think about your outcomes. What is it you're trying to achieve? Well, I kind of like to think that I don't know what my audience is. I don't know what the outputs are going to be, the outcomes are going to be, and I don't know what it is that I'm trying to achieve. But I'm happy to sit back a bit and let it work through itself. So the analogy of say you have somebody working in a workshop and they've got some wood and they want to turn that into a household object, but they're not sure. They've got a rough idea, a template in their mind. They've sketched out some notes for the idea for a chair, but the craftsperson starts to work on it and eventually it turns into a table. Does that mean that was a failure? Well, clearly not, because there's still something that spoke to the person doing the crafting, something inherent within the materials, the wood that they were using, something within the kind of the dynamic of the relationship between what they thought their intended use was and what they end up producing was enabled them to come up with something which is entirely different from what they'd anticipated. It's still recognizable as a household object, as a table, but it wasn't a chair. And I like that idea that kind of our intentions, we have the space within community media to adapt our attentions based on the materials that we have with us in front of us and that we have to hand. And so thinking about design is much more, in my experience, much more about taking and evaluating the objects and the materials that we've got and predetermining and testing them. And it's an incredibly powerful methodology. The design methodology has given us high-speed trains, rocket ships, and aeroplanes, and it's built the modern world that we're part of. Digital cameras, computers. This kind of methodology is incredibly powerful and important. But there's a good case to say that it lacks kind of human connection and connection with the world, the natural world, because what it's doing is it's imposing material science and systems thinking onto things. I'm incredibly grateful that I've got my mobile phone and that it works in seamlessly with an integrated level of technology, which is remarkable. But the kind of nature of the world isn't just about systems and mechanical thinking. And there's a useful analogy, if you want to go and make a piece of furniture, or somebody who is very good at making their own furniture, you might use that, contact them and arrange to have something commissioned from them, and it might take some time to get. Or you could drive to your local IKEA, pick something out of the catalogue and have it delivered in a flat pack and you assemble it yourself. Both serve a particular function, but if all of our media, and this is where I think the analogy is very useful, a lot of our media is biased or tilted towards this flat pack approach, this industrialized systems approach, and we don't spend enough time attending to the bespoke nature, the crafted nature of our media. And there's also something that it fits with this, which is about the degree to which the crafting process of engagement is highly rewarding and satisfying for the people involved. People working in a factory, I'm sure, aren't so caring about how the final product would be used, but a group of people are deciding to share space in a woodwork or metalwork or a pottery workshop have a real kind of desire and love and passion for the products that they're learning to make at whatever standard and skill level they're at. And also the kind of the camaraderie and the communing, the togetherness that comes with that process. So you can see it in things like knitting groups, and you can see it in kind of all sorts of card craft groups, the arts and crafts whole thing. And talking of arts and crafts, is it John Ruskin or William what's his name, it's the phrase don't think about what you get for what it is that you make, think about what you become. And there's an element of that, we have that tangible connection with that craftsmanship that goes into an object that we or clothing or kind of decorative art that has a uniqueness about it, and we recognize that this was made by an individual and not by a machine. It wasn't automated purely as a turned out there's a great art and skill to automation. It's a fantastic process. And the modern age has been created around this capacity to do this, and it gives us affordances to do things which we never thought possible. Travel at speeds and distances that are just seemingly 200 years ago were beyond the realms of imagination. But at the same time, there's a human level that we need to kind of remain grounded in, which is that turning things by hand, looking and assessing how things feel, considering them by sight, because that gives us a kind of connection with other people. And it's not about always turning things over to an automated systems process, but it's about kind of asking how does this make us feel, and what our emotional or affective input into something is. So I think there's kind of good analogies here for community media in the respect that so much of our media is mass produced, so much of it is turned out on an industrial scale. It's become very format based. On radio, commercial radio is very format driven, tightly controlled. Whereas there are ways that we can take an alternative approach, which is to allow things to emerge and build over time, and we have a direct crafted input into that process, and we don't always have to just imitate what other people see and feel. And to a large extent my videos here are quite imitative, but having the opportunity to explore where and when these can develop, so it's not just about me copying what I've seen on YouTube, I think is that's part of the process, part of the process of learning, changing and growing. So if you want to take part in our conversation, you can come to visit decentered.co.uk. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at decenteredmedia, or you can sign up at Patreon, where you'll get a link for the discussion sessions. Go to patreon.com/decenteredmedia, and we have a weekly discussion session each week. We start at 6. See how long it goes for, and we'll carry on for as long as we need to, and as long as we've got the energy to share our experiences and explore ideas, and to come up with some things that we can try out. But until see you soon. Until let's get my words right. Until next time, thank you very much. Visit decentered.co.uk or follow us on Instagram and Twitter at decenteredmedia.